All right, guys. All right, hey, we want to welcome everybody to this week's webinar. Very excited to have everyone on. This is our first webinar with that's going to be going over 2.40 software and some of the things we've recently added about 2 months ago. So very excited for everyone to be on, whether you know the system or if you're kind of new to us. We're going to be covering, a broad amount of things today. So we're very glad to have you on. As we go through this webinar today, so there's a decent amount of us on here. So instead of being able to just speak in and ask questions with so many people, that gets kind of chaotic. So we've set it up where you can type in your questions through the control page there and type in your question. We have Kevin Woodworth who's on with me today. I'm Mark Bateman, and Kevin, he is our guru. We sometimes joke around about he's the tier 7 tech support, but he knows the ins and outs of the panel better than anyone, and so very excited to have him here with us today. And as you guys ask questions, if there's something that's relevant for everyone, Kevin's going to stop me and we're going to kind of discuss that and let you guys know what's, everyone hear that question and answer, if it's going to be beneficial for all. So we're going to jump into this. If you guys, like I said, if you have any questions, just once again ask them, and Kevin will be responding to those. I would like at least one person, if you could, just say, hey, I can hear you, and just so we can see that questionnaire thing is working. So if someone can type in, just say, yep, we can hear you. Yep, all good. Thank you, Ed, Mally, Frank, thanks for jumping on. Roy, awesome. It's perfect. That's what I wanted. All right, let's jump into this. Like I said, for some of you, like Frank, I know you've been on these. We are going to touch on some 2.40 stuff today, so hopefully that can be interesting. Let me see this. So today's agenda overall, just we're going to go on a kind of a quicker overview of Qolsys. What is Qolsys? What are all some of the features we have? We'll jump into the software of the panel, the hardware. We'll get into some getting started stuff with, how do you program the panel? We'll jump into additional programming, some kind of a deep dive into understanding things, and then we'll go over some of these incredible test tools we have, testing and tools, and then the UI of the panel, understanding that, and then we'll get into support and what kind of support we have for you guys, be marketing support, technical support. I'll mention it now. There's an awesome Facebook group out there called Qolsys and alarm.com installers, that kind of support where, it's almost 2,000 people that are part of that group that, we love it when people jump on there, because it's something that us as Qolsys, we're able to jump in and kind of see what people are saying. And so we'll go over all that type of support out there. So I want to start off with just kind of an overview of who we are. I'm gonna skip a video. We're gonna skip kind of the videos on this, just to save time with some of the time constraints. But some background on the company is we are out of San Jose, California. We're just a Silicon Valley company. And as far as the way the company started up is one of our founders, he'd sold companies, been very successful, and he had a security installed in his home back in around 2010. Had a system put in this nice new house he had built, and if you can think in 2010, what kind of system would he have had installed? I'm not going to say exactly what type it was or the manufacturer, but it was a hardwired system. And, when they installed it, he was kind of like, man, what is this? This seems like older technology, rubber button keypads. And that kind of sparked the discussion of, man, what about taking today's technology of 2010, which he had at the time, that was the iPhone 3 he had in his pocket. Also in 2010, the iPad had just came out. So the technology was there, tablets and all that stuff, touch screens. And it was, hey, can we take that technology of that day, of today, and bring that to the security industry? And that's kind of the start of Qolsys. Just also, Qolsys stands for Quality of Life Systems. And that's another thing, man. We want to provide a great quality of life for everyone we work with, for all our dealers, the end users, and even us as a company. You know, we try to have a great quality of life and have a good energy about our company. Some of our partners that have allowed us to be so strong have been kind of key to for Qolsys to leverage and help us to, you know, make our way up through the ranks. Are these four here? And the first one I want to talk about is Foxconn. Foxconn is the largest manufacturer of electronics in the world. You know, they build every iPhone and iPad out there, and even like Cisco routers, you know, things for Sony and Dell, gaming consoles. And they're known for their excellent quality, for distribution, and a clean supply chain. So Foxconn's been huge for us. And some updates with Foxconn is, you know, we've used their manufacturing in over in China, but we've also recently, this last year, we started manufacturing in North America, down in their Waters factory. And over the last this year, they've been building a new factory in Milwaukee. So we've been up there about 4 times, and we're looking to start making things in the USA in the future with Qolsys. So great partner there. We also have Android on the panel. You know, Android is, you know, what is it? It's an operating system, and we use a security enhanced Linux version of Android that kind of sets us apart. You know, this is such a popular operating system, but it's allowed us to use all those things they already have, a developer toolkit, and made it so we can do this upgradable software. So I just mentioned when we started, hey, we're on 2.40 software now. Actually, today we're going to release 2.41, which are some additional improvements. All of that is thanks to Android, and it makes it very easy to do clean over-the-air updates through Wi-Fi on the panel. The other partner is Alarm.com. Everybody out there should know who Alarm.com is, but they're that industry leader in those cloud services, those interactive services. You know, I'm on the Alarm.com app every single day on my phone. Such an awesome thing to have, and they've just been such a leader. And over the last 7, 8 years, we've been integrating with Alarm.com. We have about 2 calls a week that are standing calls, and it's kind of made it so virtually anything you can do on the panel, you can do from Alarm.com. That's our goal. So even as a dealer, you can jump in and see, hey, signal strengths and things like that. If you needed to, you could delete a sensor. If you needed to, you could add a sensor remotely and even, you know, add one at the office and ship it out to somebody's home. Next one is Qualcomm. People have heard that, you know, hey, there's Qualcomm Stadium. I used to wonder that, but what is Qualcomm? They're the largest smartphone chip manufacturer in the world. So virtually every phone out there that has Bluetooth and stuff, Bluetooth was made by them. LTE was also made by Qualcomm. And we use their system on a chip in our panel. So instead of having this, you know, a cell unit that is removed and, you know, can be used or whatever, it's just built into the panel, and that really creates a lot better quality product. So it kind of means instead of like Qolsys' way of going to market was more, hey, let's take these things and put them together and build a tablet type panel with a touchscreen, instead of what a lot of other people are trying to do is take a security system and how can they make it into a touchscreen, you know, totally different technology and way to market. We are better than in every way. We're actually at our Gen 2 panel now. It's IQ Panel 2 Plus. So it's the second version of our Gen 2 panel that we have out now, and it's better in every way than our Gen 1 panel. You know, very slick touch screen, less than 1 inch thick. As you can see, for those of you that haven't used one yet, it's just a very clean panel that you can feel, you know, proud about putting in your customers' homes. You know, very clean user interface. Tap on things, you can see your weather. You can slide, you can see the drop down menu. You can slide over to the sides for easy swipe navigation, for ZWave controls, for your lights, locks, and thermostats. All that is just easy to use. And I know, you know, you see a little kid these days, they can pick up a tablet, an iPad, they can scroll the games. You know, my kids can jump on my phone and find the games. We want our panel to be that way also, where it's very easy to use for an end user, and it just makes sense. So with that, we've also designed it so you get a consistent customer experience with our panel and the Alarm.com apps. So whether you're looking at your app or you're going to the panel, you're iPad, you're on the computer, it's all going to kind of feel consistent and feel seamless for a customer, so it doesn't feel like they're going to all these different things, and how does it work on this thing and how does it work on that. It all kind of works the same no matter where you go. I mentioned Qualcomm earlier as one of our partners, and Qualcomm, we start with the Qualcomm Snapdragon system on a chip, and inside that we have all these different radios. The first one is 4G LTE. That LTE stands for long-term evolution. So we have this radio that's going to last up into the 2030s. As LTE integrates, as 5G comes, it's going to make that LTE platform even stronger, and it's going to actually extend the life of 4G, and that's why 4G is going to be getting up into the 2030s, 2032. So you have a radio in here that's going to last a very long time. Then we have Wi-Fi 802.11ac, which is a very fast and reliable and robust Wi-Fi. I mean, it's for a panel, it's like, you say, yeah, that's kind of overkill, but it's, we want a panel that's going to keep up with the future. We have Bluetooth Low Energy that we currently use to be able to pair your smartphone and use it for disarming. As you walk into the house, as long as the panel's armed in the away mode, it'll disarm your panel through Bluetooth. We have an access point on the panel, which allows you to be able to tie in different devices, and we'll talk about what makes sense with the access point. And then we have Android on the panel for that forward compatibility and doing upgrades that we talked about earlier. If you look inside the panel, you'll notice we have daughter cards. So I'm going to explain what each of these are and how they work. I'm going to take this out of my ears. So the first one we have is PowerG. So with PowerG, you get 4 times the range of your traditional RF sensors. It's a two-way sensor. This was originally made as it was a military grade 128-bit AES encryption sensor with 50-channel frequency hopping. So just a very robust and awesome sensor that a lot of us had not seen. And this is something we added to our panel about a year ago and kind of made our panel the IQ2 Plus. So you get PowerG Plus, this daughter card down below, which is our legacy sensors, our legacy frequencies. So you can support up to 128 zones between PowerG and the legacy frequencies, and your panel is going to come with PowerG and then one of these three, either 319.5, which would support Qolsys, the Qolsys S-Line, Interlogix ITI sensors, those GE sensors. That's all on 319.5, and that's kind of our flagship bread and butter panel that we have. But with the needs we saw in the industry with takeovers and whatnot, we also make 2 other panels. We make one that has the 345 card, so you can take over Honeywell and 2 gig sensors, and then we also make a red box panel, which is the 433 or legacy DSC panel. On top of those security RFs, you have ZWave Plus. So ZWave Plus, you get double the range. You have up to 137 ZWave devices you can connect. 80 lights, 20 locks, 10 thermostats, 6 garage doors, and 21 other devices. So just with those 3 cards there that are in every panel, you got a very, very robust system. The fourth one we want to talk about is an expansion slot here. So this is made for future-proofing the panel, whether you could put in an Ethernet card, new radio technologies, and more is what this is mainly used for. So what we have there, when I explain those different RFs, is a panel for every solution, every situation. You go into a home and let's say you already are using Qolsys sensors, encrypted sensors, you're going to use that gold panel of ours, or even if they have existing Interlogix sensors, that's what's going to work. If you're using our Hardwire 16, this is also the panel that's going to work with that, since our Hardwire 16F uses 319.5 megahertz. But if you go into a home with 2 gig or Honeywell, it's going to be the silver panel, and then we have the red panel for that legacy DSC 433. And you'll notice we make our panels, they come in different SKUs here, but also with different radios. So we support Verizon, AT&T, and TELUS, depending where you're at in the country. And our panels, since inception, it's always been that perfect residential panel, high volume panel. We have Bluetooth Disarming, we have, live answer, where you can answer your doorbell on it. You get disarm photos that can go to your watch or your phone and see who's disarming the panel. You have live video, so you can see the different cameras around your house, the different alarm.com cameras. We have a built-in glass break in every panel. It has two amazing microphones in the bottom of it, so we're like, hey, let's put in a glass break detector. And then we also have this screensaver that people can add their personal photos on, or out of the box, it just comes with beautiful scenic photos taken by employees at Qolsys or friends of Qolsys that are just from around the world. So very perfect, residential panel. With this last year, with this adding, creating this dual SRF feature with PowerG, it's made the panel even better. So we've had the legacy radios, these are perfect for takeovers. You can even take over life safety if you need to, and it saves a lot of money. But one thing you do run into with a lot of those legacy protocols is a lot of them are not encrypted. They have a shorter range, and they also have a shorter battery life. So by bringing PowerG to the table, now you're getting that 4 times the range, an amazing encryption. It's a two-way sensor where it actually talks to the panel and waits to hear back. And if it needs to, that allows it to, a couple things there with the two-way. It allows you to do remote access into sensors. So if you wanted to adjust the sensitivity on some of those sensors, like a glass break or a motion that can be adjusted, you can do that remotely. From the office. You also have auto signal adjust. What does that mean? It means if the sensor is close to the panel, it's going to adjust and use less battery life. And if it's farther away, it's going to know it needs to use full power, and that saves on battery life. That allows you to get that 5 to 8 year battery life. And these sensors also avoid interference. So, 50 channel frequency hopping instead of just being set on one channel. And what this has kind of brought us into is making it so, starting in the beginning of 2018, we kind of announced, hey, this is the perfect panel now for also your small business and commercial. With that, you're going to start up now with partitions. You can do up to 4 partitions. You have screen lock on the panel. Earlier this year, I was out in Colorado helping on an install that was at a nice restaurant with a bar. It was in the college town of Boulder. And the owner was like, hey, I'm kind of nervous about getting the system. What if it's 2 in the morning and one of these college kids goes over to the panel and starts messing with it, sets it off, has the police come, or, they actually hit a panic button. They actually arm it. What am I going to do? And I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is why this is perfect for small business and commercials, because now we have a lock screen on the panel. So you can control, who has access to the panel and those types of things. This also pairs very well with Alarm.com's access control. A couple months back, we had Rod Halford, the director of access control and commercial with Alarm.com. We did a special webinar with him, and it's a very beautiful panel to pair with that in the commercial setting. And then we have the remote disarm photos. So if somebody disarms the panel, you see who it is, you see what time, and also this year, Alarm.com and us together, we launched face recognition. So if somebody disarms it and that face doesn't match the code, you'll actually get alerted, and it'll let you know that right away. And then you can go on and see who was it. Were they just turned around backwards, or did somebody give their code to somebody that shouldn't have it? And you notice here we're also getting into commercial. This is allowing us to get into bigger buildings. This is kind of a schoolroom here. We've had a lot of case studies that we first did with elementary schools and opening this panel up into larger installs. So with PowerG, it's allowed us to get the UL and ULC commercial listings for Berg and wireless. We get the ultra long range now with PowerG. Kevin, who's here with me, we were able to go out into the Bonneville Salt Flats earlier this year and do some range testing on these sensors. Open air range was just incredible, getting out there thousands of feet. And these sensors work on metal and concrete, and you can do up to 8 repeaters. With that, I want to say you can't repeat a repeater. They don't cascade, but it's you can spider them out, and you can actually start now covering, and now we're seeing our dealers starting to cover very large buildings, hundreds of thousands of square feet with repeaters, and it's just kind of changed the game with the IQ panel. Partitions, that's another thing we've jumped into now. Beginning of the year, we released partitions. We've actually come out with partitions 2.0 now. So this allows for global arming, so you can arm multiple partitions simultaneously. Global sound distribution for alarms. Bluetooth disarming can now be assigned to partitions, and it's allowed it so you can pair up to 3 IQ remotes to our system, assign those remotes to different partitions, and you could use up to 4 additional PowerG arming stations, the WS9 LCD arming stations that are out there. Also, what we've had this year, these are some of the new things that we want to just touch on that we've launched in this beginning of this year, was live answer on the panel. So if you have the Sky Bell, a video doorbell, Alarm.com is coming out with their new video doorbell. When somebody rings that, or even you can set it up with just motion, you'll be notified in the house on the panel. It'll chime, and this icon appears. You can answer it. This is an example of Kevin's house here, actually. Kid comes up in a hoodie. He's able to look out and say, oh, this is my son's best friend. Came over to play Xbox. From the panel, he can talk to him. He can arm and disarm the system. He can unlock that front door, and he can end that call and just say, hey, come on in, come down, Ethan's downstairs, go play your Xbox. Also, we have live view with audio on the panel. So if you have the indoor cameras, the 521, 522, 523, or 622, those all have the video, but they also have audio. So that allows you to be able to hear what's going on in a room and also speak to people. This is great if you have a baby or something. You can monitor your child when they're taking a nap, or just make, if they wake up and you hear something, you can just peek in without going in the room and disturbing them, and you can hear what's going on. The video only models, the 722, 723 up to the 826, are, once again, they're video only and they're not audio. And a lot of these are going to be your outdoor cameras. And but it's a really cool feature to have on the panel. Yesterday, somebody chimed in on that Facebook page. How many cameras could you max out on the panel? Well, in the perfect situation, you could do up to 40. That's what Alarm.com allows. So you could stream up to 40 on the panel, but you would have to make sure they have the Wi-Fi to support that, which most homeowners don't. Businesses might, but that you can max it out at 40. This here, you're like, oh, this kind of looks like the panel. This is actually our IQ remote, and we noticed that it's just barely a little different looking. It looks a lot like our main panel. And on this one, you can do live view, but it's going to be video only. So even if somebody goes to the doorbell, you can see who it is. You won't have the audio, but you can at least see who it is out there. Do you want to answer it, or do you just want to ignore them? Is it the UPS guy dropping off a package that you want to go pick up? So very awesome feature that we just added a couple months ago to our panel through a software update. We also have a new home control page on the panel. So with 2.40 being released 2 months ago, we made it so you can start to now choose what pages the end user is going to see. And one of those is this home control page. So it's a single page with light, lock, and thermostat. And you swipe to get your other standard pages. You just swipe over. But this is going to present the first paired item with the panel. So your first light, your first lock, and your first thermostat, you're going to be able to see. If you have that front door, you can just go over there and unlock it at one page. For us, we have a kitchen light that I like to turn on and off. This is what is perfect for me, to have this one page I can go to and get quick access to my main ZWave and home automation features. We've also added a new wellness page to the panel. This is really cool. I have it on my panel here on my desk. This is perfect for aging in place, allowing someone to stay in their home much longer without having to go into a retirement home. So it's a per-style system. It has a new check-in feature, and the feature sends the caregiver a photo to the cloud. So, if the nurse shows up, you can see what time they came in at. You're going to be able to see what time they left, or they check in and out. It also, since it sends that photo to the cloud, it's kind of like using the disarm photos. that this is going to be a check-in photo. It uses existing user codes, and it's not related to the security arming state. So with this works best when you actually turn off the security page. So I mentioned earlier, hey, you can choose what pages are going to show on the panel. With just wellness alone, you know, a lot of elderly people, they get nervous to use their system when it's a security system. I was talking to Kevin yesterday. My grandma had a system, and I got her with a medical pendant, and she was too scared to use it. She hung the medical pendant on the panel, and it was security, and it was just too scary for her. She didn't want like the police showing up on accident. Where this takes the security out of it and just makes it a wellness panel where you can still have the bed sensors, you can have notifications set up, and they can still have that, you know, like an IQ fall pendant. Works very great. That's something we came out with also. It's a new product where if someone's just to fall down, it's going to notice they fell, has the calibration in there, and it would automatically create a panic situation. Another thing we've added through feedback and on the panel is scenes. You know, for those of you that aren't familiar with scenes, you know, this is something that normally alarm.com's had, and it's something you set up through alarm.com. But it's made it so on your app, you can just say, oh, it's nighttime. I want to set nighttime mode. And when you hit the nighttime mode, scenes happen. So that scene might be for nighttime. Hey, I'm going to arm the system to stay. I'm going to make sure my lights are turned off. Maybe it's going to adjust the thermostat to a nighttime mode. It's going to make sure the garage doors closed, make sure the locks, you know, locks and all that kind of stuff. Anything else, Kevin? Oh. So there you see, when you touch it, the scenes button there on the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see the scenes up there: home, away, sleep. And those are the different options you have. Question, Kevin, have we had any good questions coming in yet?
Yeah, we've got a couple questions here real quick. A lot of you guys were asking about these new user interfaces that we're showing on the panel. So the last couple slides here, the home control page, the wellness page, and the scenes page here. All of these are optional pages that can be turned on. They're off by default. So this is something you would want to turn on in programming. And the goal here is to give you guys flexibility from a user interface perspective. We call them different verticals lots of times. So these all came out with the 2.4.0 software update about 2 months ago. Internally, we refer to that update as the vertical update. And what I mean by that is you've got the security vertical, you've got the wellness or aging in place vertical. A lot of you guys are getting into MDUs or apartments. We consider that it's kind of its own vertical. And many times in situations, they may not even have security as an option. It might be just a smart apartment. So lights, locks, thermostats, and the apartment complex chose to not get security at all. So having the flexibility from a UI perspective to take the same types of sensors, the same types of hardware that we've been using for a while now, and display that in a different fashion, either for the customer, the end user, the property manager, whatever it may be, really allows you to go tackle these different market segments or these different verticals. So builder, automation only, MDU, wellness, aging in place, things like that. So these are all there inside settings. If you go into the ability to turn off the security page, again, is another option that we don't highlight here, but it is inherently tied to these. And so these are all in settings. You'll go into settings, advanced settings, installation, installer settings. And when you scroll down, there's an entire section called page configuration, where you're able to kind of dynamically control what you turn on and off. Something else not highlighted in the deck today, but that's part of that, is the ability to actually turn off the lock page and turn off the thermostat page. And again, that comes from addressing these vertical markets. We have a lot of you giving feedback that you're getting into the Airbnb market. And with Airbnb market, maybe they have an owner's closet that has a smart lock on it. But because the short-term renter, the person who's renting the Airbnb, has access to the panel for other features, we didn't want to give them access to the smart lock page to access the owner's closet. So use cases like that is what we're hearing from you. The ability to turn off the lock page in certain scenarios or in Airbnb or commercial scenarios, the ability to hide or turn off the thermostat page in commercial scenarios. Maybe the panel needed to be installed in an area of a commercial business where it could be accessed by customers, and they don't want the customers overriding thermostat settings from the panel. So the ability to hide that page was introduced here in 2.4. So we're getting lots of questions, Mark, about that. Please keep the questions coming. They're great. We love answering them, and we'll keep going here.
Sweet. Yeah, thank you guys for your feedback on this and all your questions. Like I said, the more questions you guys ask, the more you're going to be able to learn. So moving on past the scenes on the panel is our easy install wizard. This thing has been amazing. It's just really made it for a fast, efficient, and consistent install. A lot of dealers that are new, they're like, man, this just helps so much with making it so our technicians, even a green tech that doesn't know a lot about security, this wizard just walks them through every single step, makes it so they don't forget a step. It's all there. And we'll kind of go over that wizard a little bit later on the hands-on portion of this. The panel also has an access point, and this access point is great. If you go into a home and they don't have Wi-Fi. Well, why is that so great? Well, our secondary tablets, our IQ remotes, connect to the panel over Wi-Fi. So a lot of times that customer is going to have that nice strong router in their house. They're going to connect their IQ remote to that, and then have the panel connected to it also, and that's how you're going to get that connection. If they don't have that router set up, then you can just directly go to the panel. You can even add in a Wi-Fi repeater if you have a range thing with Wi-Fi. So that's a good use case. The other use case I love for the panel is, and this access point, is the Skybell video doorbell. Somebody has one of those. A lot of times, I know some dealers that every house they install with those, they throw in a Wi-Fi repeater, just because they don't want to go back out for a service call. If your panel was to be installed up by the front of the house, now that's a great thing. You can say, hey, I can connect my Skybell. It goes directly to the panel. We actually have it set up this way here at the office, and then have the panel connected to the home router. So that's a great use case. You'll notice on here it also says live video cameras. So you could, if somebody has a camera, I would say an indoor camera, you could have it go to the panel and then go to the main router, if that's going to be closer. But this is not something where you would want to load it up with, hey, I'm going to put all the outdoor cameras on it, or load it up with a ton of home automation. It does have its limits. So those things I mentioned, the Skybell or IQ remote, where they don't have Wi-Fi, even sometimes when they do, if it's better, it's closer. That's when you're going to want to use this access point, and it's just kind of like an extra tool that you as a technician has to figure things out when you're doing that install and to make things easier for you. The next great feature we have is dual path. What is dual path? Well, I remember when I was first installing, we were connecting to POTS. Who knows what POTS is? A plain old telephone service. And they came out one year and said, hey, we're going to start doing cell backup. And everybody was scared and like, dude, I have to start installing a cell unit. And, the way that worked is, hey, if for some reason that primary POTS line wasn't working, maybe it got cut, whatever, then after so much time, it would kick over to the cell unit. And then cell units became very robust, and they ended up being cell primaries. And then Wi-Fi became a backup. So, hey, if for some reason the cell went down, the cell tower went down, now you had Wi-Fi as a backup. And that sometimes that might take 30 seconds, it might take 45 seconds or whatever, a minute, to kick over to that backup. Well, we've taken it a step further where we actually do the Wi-Fi and the LTE communication at the same time. So intelligent redundancy. With this, you get increased speed, performance, and reliability. So to be more clear on that, yeah, if the panel goes into an alarm, it's sending out a signal over Wi-Fi and LTE. But also, if you're just arming the system, a lot of you that are on here are technicians, or you might even be sales reps, and you've been to a house before and you're explaining to a customer, hey, I'm going to show you how to arm the system from your phone or from your computer. And when you do that, and I used to be out in the field, I remember the process I'd go through. I'd say, okay, we're going to arm it now. And I'd hit the button on their computer or their phone. And I knew it was going to take a little while. It might take 10, 15 seconds, sometimes longer, because it was just going only over the cell. So I had my little pitch, hey, it's going to go to to the server now, and then to a cell tower, and then that's going to send the signal to your panel. And while I was explaining that, I was hoping the panel would arm up. One thing you're going to notice when you're using dual path is it just works right away. It works as you'd expect it to. So when you say arm the system from your phone or your computer, it arms. If you say have it turn on a light, it just turns on the light. Lock the door locks. And it works as you would expect it to. And that was the first thing I noticed, and this was a couple years ago when I first got a Qolsys panel in my house. And that's just a huge, huge feature to have there with the dual path. And we also have a built-in language translation. So on our panel, so a lot of dealers are out there in areas that, might be up in French Canada. You might run into somebody that speaks French. We have Kevin here that speaks French. He might have his panel on the French at his house. But this allows you as a technician to go in, do the install, do everything in English, and then if the end user wants the panel to be in Spanish or French, they just can hit the drop-down menu, select the language they want, and everything converts over to that language. Really cool thing to have. I know, I've spent a lot of time down in the southern states lately, and it's, the dealers I go to, they use this daily, where there's people that would just rather have Spanish on the panel. You're not having to get a separate SKU of panels that come with all the Spanish on them. It's just you have that option to switch it back and forth. Security is very important to us as Qolsys, and I know it's important to you guys. It's what our industry is all about. So with our panel, we need to make sure, hey, we're secure and tight as possible. So we use a security enhanced version of Android. It's a Linux version. And it communicates to alarm.com through cloud token authentication. There's a built-in firewall. We have third-party verification going on, and that will only speak to the alarm.com Qolsys cloud. On top of that, we have our encrypted sensors. So we have our Qolsys S-line sensors that use encryption technology. Why is this important? Well, I like to relate back to the early 80s when garage doors came out. First with garage door openers, if you bought one and installed it in your house, there was a chance, there's only so many dip switches on them that you could go up and down the street and you could open up somebody else's garage door. So that the garage door industry ended up saying, oh, we need to make it an additional improvements on our panel. And pretty soon, you'd see movies like Gone in 60 Seconds or something where they could listen to a signal and then replay it. The garage door industry realized, hey, we need to get into encryption, and they kind of got a head start, I feel like, on the security industry, which is kind of weird. The security industry, you think, would have been leading that, but we've made it now where we have encrypted sensors where you cannot do that. You can avoid replay attacks. Someone's not able to capture that signal and replay it. We also do visual verification on the panel, so that's the disarm photos. We have jam detection if somebody's trying to jam the panel with a ton of RF signaling. That's just not normal. It's outside of the norm. It'll pick it up. And then we also have the Bluetooth Disarming, which is replaces the old school unencrypted key fobs. So just a much more secure way to disarm the panel. We have the built-in glass break. I mentioned this earlier. Our panel has two amazing microphones on the bottom. They always test very highly with the monitoring centers. We said, man, we have these awesome microphones. What if we did a built-in glass break? So we use the glass break technology. A glass break detector, what is inside it? It's a microphone. It's batteries and stuff, but it's listening for the sound of breaking glass. So we actually do a dual tone where it's listening for the thud and the ch on our glass break. And what we're actually later on, I'll go into how you test this glass break and what kind of glass it's rated for. But really awesome feature, and it has a 15-foot range. To be clear on that, 15-foot range on our glass break detector. As far as Bluetooth, people said, well, how does this work? If you're new to it, well, this is super convenient, especially with millennials and the modern age. You just leave your phone in your pocket. You walk up to your panel, your home. You get about 30 feet away. It recognizes your Bluetooth. It does a soft connection, so it's not actually going to be that, hey, I'm taking over your speakers on your phone or whatever. It's more, hey, it's a soft connection. It sees your phone through the Bluetooth and disarms the panels. And on top of that, you can have scenes set up. So I'm going to show you the one quick video here. This is probably one of the only videos I'll show you. This is Erin. She's a friend of ours. Comes home from You know, the grocery store, able to grab her groceries, has her kid in her hand.
Bluetooth disarm.
The panel automatically disarms. The door unlocks. She's able to come in and she's not having to rush trying to get keys or trying to rush over to the panel to disarm it. And on top of that with scenes, you could even make it so it, you know, turns on a light, especially if it's after a certain time. So very awesome feature. And it pairs perfectly with the Geofence on alarm.com when leaving. You know, I know I've talked to some people that say, man, my wife does not even care about security. And when she leaves the home, she never arms the system. So what they've done is they've set up the Geofence notification. So when their wife leaves, they're already at work, they get notified, hey, you know, you've left the house, it hasn't been armed. Would you like to arm it? They're able to arm the system and say yes. And then when their wife returns home, or they do, the Bluetooth disarming sees them and automatically disarms. And then what this ends up doing is it increases the user engagement satisfaction with the panel. It actually makes you use your panel more by not having to touch it, you know, and you get that benefit. And it really creates a sticky customer that, you know, is like, dude, this is an awesome system. All these things it does, little features like this, I see makes it so people like talk to their neighbors and say, hey, look what my system can do. Does yours do this? And, you know, can really get some good word of mouth going there. Another thing we have on the panel is our panel motion sensor. You know, to be very clear, this is not a PIR Berg sensor, a PERS motion. This is a motion sensor that does two things very well. It's used in two use cases. The first one I like for it is the wellness. You know, we talked about wellness earlier, and this can be an activity monitor where it's, hey, let me know the first activity, you know, in the house, you know, after 10 a.m. or maybe if there is no activity in the house and it's 10 a.m., let me know, you know, grandma's still sleeping, you know, what's going on in that house. The way I've used it in my own home is, you know, it goes in as automatically as a group 25 activity monitoring, but you can use it with scenes. So you can say, hey, if somebody walks in front of the panel, turn on a light, you know. So at nighttime I can say, hey, if I walk in front of my panel, after 10 o'clock, I'm going down to fill up my tumbler, turn on the light for me for 10 minutes. On top of that, if you have the panel motion on, it allows you to do a couple other things. Peek in next motion, and also we talked about the Bluetooth disarming. And people said, well, if you use Bluetooth disarming, do you get that disarm photo? Well, if you have the panel motion sensor turned on, then the next motion it sees, it's going to take a picture for you. So whether you're using the Bluetooth disarming, if somebody uses their alarm.com app, or if they have a key fob, it'll still take a disarm photo through this panel motion sensor. So you'll notice that panel camera. I want to talk even more about it. You know, what all does it do? Well, we talked about the disarm photos. Something I didn't talk about though was alarm videos. If your panel goes into alarm, be one that you go set off and you set off a panic or somebody's breaking in, it's actually going to do a 4-minute alarm video. So that's the same amount of time that the siren goes off, you are listening for the siren. It's going to take a video for you. And this is awesome. Just a couple months back, we had a dealer send us a video. Look, we caught somebody that was still in a 65-inch TV on the panel camera. It's so funny. This guy had a 65-inch TV that is carrying out their door. He even had the courtesy to go back and shut the door, and they caught this guy down the street. You know, you're not going to get too far away with a huge TV like that. But that's an awesome thing that you have on the panel. Everybody gets this extra camera that has these features. With that, for those of you that are familiar with the image sensor that alarm.com's had for forever now, you could do peek in now or peek in next motion, and you can do that now through the panel camera. So you pull up your app, you can say, hey, as long as I have an interactive gold package or an image sensor package through alarm.com, that service setup, I want to peek in right now, see what's going on in my house. Or I want to peek in next motion, next time somebody walks past it. Very cool features that we've done with this camera. And we've actually created, you know, all this has been done and improvements have been made through those software updates. On the panel, we also have an advanced sensor test. Yesterday we shot a little Facebook Live video on this. This is a really awesome sensor test that, you know, is unlike anything I've seen before. It allows you to see the noise floor of a home. You know, what is the noise floor of, what does all that mean? Well, we're talking about interferences that can happen, all the unseen. whether it's a baby monitor, different RFs that are happening in that environment, be a commercial business, be a residential home. This sensor test is going to allow you to see where the noise floor is at and how your sensors are coming in compared to that noise floor. And it's going to make sure you can see if you're in the good range, poor, or a critical range, and you can use things with that. And I'll go even deeper into that when we get into our testing part of this presentation. We also have some very powerful ZWave Diagnostics, where you can see how all your sensors are connected together, their last working route. If something dropped offline, you can say, well, how was it working the last time it did work? And you say, oh, it was going through the sensor. Well, did something happen? Was that outlet, was that sensor moved? Was it a lamp module that got moved? And it can kind of help you especially a service tech, see what's happening in that system. On top of that, we do a counter test. You can see how many commands have been sent for each device versus failed. Am I getting good connections going on each device? We also can rediscover the network from the panel, and you can see all your neighbor nodes. And speaking of ZWave, a new thing we've added is called Smart Start. This is a newer technology where ZWave products are starting to be shipped with a QR code on their box. And this is allowing you to just use the panel and scan the QR code on that ZWave device to pair it to the panel. This can save a lot of time, especially with, the different manufacturers of ZWave will do different ways to learn it in. Sometimes, hey, it's a triple click, or sometimes it's a long hold, sometimes it's a short hold. It can get confusing for technicians. So this just is another tool we've added to the panel, where it's just you scan it and it learns it into the panel. It uses the panel camera to capture that QR code. It doesn't require you to push the button on the ZWave device. It does require that QR code, though, to be on the packaging. So this is something we're getting ahead of, as we will see more and more of these QR codes showing up on boxes. So on top of all those two other tests we also have a wealth of tools for technicians. I call these tools, they kind of make a technician, instead of just being, hey, I'm going to lick it and stick it installer, this makes them like that security professional, that installation specialist that can really dive into a panel and understand what's going on with the sensors, what's going on with the ZWave network, really see what's happening with the panel on a much, much deeper level, kind of allowing you to see the unseen. So our panel, once again, just as a review, we have 3 different versions of the panel, SKUs. We have the gold box, the silver box, the red box. So that 319, the 345, and the 433, they all come with the PowerG, and they'll work with our PowerG sensors. And what I love with that, when you're doing that sensor test, is let's say you run into a sensor that is getting down in the yellow, or you're like, man, I need to add in a repeater. Well, now you have the option with all these panels having PowerG. You say, man, I can just add a PowerG sensor. That's going to save me money. It's still going to be encrypted, and it gets 4 times the range. It could even be, hey, I have an exterior garage or a shed that won't even reach through a repeater. And now, thanks to PowerG, I can cover a lot of those areas I wasn't able to cover in the past. I also want to touch on, since I have this pulled up, a really cool feature about PowerG being two-way is its life safety. With the smoke detector, if one smoke goes off, they're wirelessly interconnected, where all of them will go off. This has allowed some dealers. We had a dealer out in Dallas area where they were not able to get into this community, this part of town, because they were requiring these interconnected smokes. And they were able to take this technology to that board there and say, hey, this is the way this works. One goes off, they all go off. And it finally allowed that dealer, he was the first one to be able to go in and start using these PowerG devices in homes with smokes. Bread and butter, we have the IQ2 panel here in our S line. These are the Qolsys security enhanced encrypted sensors we have, door window, we have our IQ16F. So you guys know that are on here. Next week, I believe on Wednesday or so, maybe Tuesday, we're going to do a little Facebook Live on the that QolsysandAlarm.com installer page, where we're going to kind of go over the IQ16 hardwire F and how that works. It's going to be a really cool Facebook to watch or video we're going to make. Just understanding how that works and the best practices with it. So we have a lot of S-Line, our encrypted products here. On here, we also see an IQ siren. It's a really cool ZWave product we have. PowerG has sirens that you can use for even chiming. So a lot of great products out there. Kevin, what kind of feedback we get? Is there anything you want to share with us?
Yeah, you bet. We're getting, as we were talking about S-Line and the 319 line of products, we're getting a lot of people on here asking if these are Interlogix compatible, and or if Interlogix sensors will work on Qolsys. And the answer is yes, and for kind of both directions. So I'll start quickly with the Qolsys sensors. The Qolsys sensors are S-Line encrypted. That means when they're paired to an IQ Panel 2, they have a layer of encryption on it that can't be spoofed, can't be replayed, can't be imitated, basically. But one of the cool things about these sensors is that when they're paired with a non-encrypted panel, like a first generation Qolsys panel or an Interlogix panel, Concord or Simon, they actually can fall back into legacy mode. So the answer is yes, Qolsys S-Line devices will work both on IQ Panel 2 as well as other 319 panels out there, Interlogix panels and other Qolsys panels. So keep that in mind. I know that we have a lot of Interlogix dealers on today. The flip side is also true. So if you had stock or existing installs with Interlogix sensors in your account base and you wanted to upgrade them to IQ Panel 2, the vast majority of those 319 devices are compatible and will work. We do maintain a list of devices on our dealer site that we have tested with internally to kind of ensure compatibility, but by and large, the vast majority of those are going to work just fine. So keep those questions coming in, guys. Really appreciate those that are participating via the chat. Keep that up, and we'll let Mark continue.
Hey, thanks a lot, Kevin. And once again, thank you guys for feedback and questions. We love the questions. Like I said, if you don't ask a question, you don't learn. So any questions you have, just keep asking, or anything you want to know. Even if it's not something I'm talking about, you can still ask it, and Kevin will get to you. So we have covered a bunch of stuff with the panel up to this point. And there's a lot of things it does. There's some things I didn't touch on. This is just a limited training here. There are a lot of things this panel will do that you can see. One thing I love here is mini partitions. Our panel will do mini partitions. It always has, where you can actually program a sensor as like an 8, 9, or a 25, and you could I'll talk about it, but you could cover that medicine cabinet or a liquor cabinet, things like that. I'll talk about that when we get into some of the programming here. But the hardware of the panel. Look at the front. Yeah, we have that nice 5-megapixel panel camera up top. Very clean user interface. On the bottom, you'll notice page indicators. So end users are very familiar with this. Hey, there's different page indicators. On this example, hey, I can see there's 5 different pages, so I can swipe over to the different pages. I can even swipe left, and it'll go around the back way to the last page. You got that LED status light that's going to be green or red, letting you know if the panel is good to be armed, or if it's disarmed or armed. Red when it's armed. And then you have those clean microphones down below that I talked about that are going to be used for your two-way voice or even for your glass break. If you look at the back of the panel, the exterior side, we've set this up. The panel, we've made it so it's going to be able to mount on single, double, or triple gang boxes. This is really nice for builder programs. We have a micro SD card slot in the side of it. People have said, what's the slot for? Well, there's a bunch of different things we can do. One of them is dealer branding. With that SD card, you can have dealer branding on a card, just put it in the side of the panel, and now you're able to add your own photos on that panel. We actually give you 4 photos. So they're going to have their standard photos that the customer has, but you can insert yours. So, hey, every 5th photo would be your company photo, and it could be, hey, give us a call to activate the system if it's maybe in a builder home and they haven't moved in yet. It makes it so when somebody does move in, they call you up and not somebody else. So a really cool thing with the SD card, we can also do, instead of upgrading over Wi-Fi, you can use the SD card. It's a little quicker. Get those updates off our dealer site. Stick the card in, you just do update over SD card, and it saves you time. An important thing that I want to touch on here is this RF antenna. routing hole. This is one of our best practices we touch on is with our S-line, with the legacy sensors, the RF antenna is going to route out of this hole right here, and that's to get the antenna away from that rock star of things happening up above. So I will mention that a couple more times probably, because that is one of our best practices, is making sure you route the antenna out of that hole. You'll notice we have the tamper breakaway built in. You have locking screws you can use, and so on. If you look at the interior of this, there's some things we already touched on, you know, those PowerG cards, but we have the cellular antenna up top. We even actually have one on the side here. We have the PowerG or image sensor antenna here for that 900 megahertz. You know, barrel jack connection, so you can use a barrel jack, or, you know, if you're doing a takeover, you could actually go directly into this terminal. Works very well with 18 gauge wire. You know, we have the built-in radio is here for RF. You have the LTE SIM card over here, a tamper switch. And the one thing I want to touch on is the panel battery. You know, say after so many years, that panel battery needs to be replaced. We actually built it with a little command strip on the bottom, a little blue tab where you pull down that tab, it breaks away the adhesive, and then you plug on the new battery. I just want to say, you know, make sure with this device here, you know, you see a little caution. It says the battery should never be disconnected without following proper power down procedures. We'll talk about that on the next page, but, you know, most older systems, you'd say, hey, I need to just kill the power. You'd pull the AC, pull the battery, and then plug it back in. This is kind of like a little mini computer, you know, like your tablet, like your computer, your phone. You don't just pull all of the battery and the power, the AC power and your battery out. You go into a proper power down procedure. So to power down the panel, you just go into settings, advanced settings, enter in your code, and hit the power down icon. If you ever need to power cycle the panel, which tech support, that's one of the first things I always tell people to do. You just go into settings, advanced settings, and the next to power down is panel reboot. You just hit a panel reboot, panels down the panel, powers down the panel, and it boots back up. And then you also can do a hard reboot. So I've rarely seen this happen in my years with the company, but if for some reason the panel was stuck, you're doing programming and it got stuck on something, you can hold that side button down for 30 seconds and it will manually power down the panel and power it back up. This isn't a master reset. It's not going to like clear the data or wipe out what you've programmed. It's just going to force it to power down and then power back up. As far as the wiring goes on this, we have that toolless terminal block. So I want to explain a couple things here. That first thing up top is the barrel jack. And you'll notice it says 5 volts or 7 volts. Well, a while back, about a year and a half ago, we've been getting feedback that with the 5-volt transformer, you're running into more voltage drop issues and stuff. So we made an improvement to the panel, and we made a little revision where the panel would start shipping with 7-volt transformers, and that would allow you to get a lot longer distance for power runs, especially if you're doing a takeover. You never know how long that's going to be. So over on the top right side, you'll see some things in red. You know, originally with the 5.5 volt transformer, as a manufacturer, we said, hey, use 18 gauge wire, no longer than 25 feet. That was to keep ourselves safe, keep you guys safe. But we knew if you did the math, you could go more like about 45 feet with 18 gauge wire. You could get closer to about double that with, double, you get more like, 50 feet with 18 gauge wire. Less with 22 gauge. With the 7-volt transformer, that's allowed us to go up to 100 feet with 18 gauge wire. We know if you do the math, you can get closer to about 190, and you're going to get more like 90, 95 feet with 22 gauge wire. But that's kind of helped us over that last year and a half curve any of those voltage drop issues that we did run into in the past. Another thing you'll notice we have here is sensor groups. 4.7K resistors can be used, and you could, if this panel is installed right next to a door, you could just power or just wire in a sensor directly into this terminal block here. So you can put it, this will support 2 different sensors. It can be wired in, use a 4.7K resistor. People have asked, hey, why does your panel not ship with these? Well, they're usually never used, but you could still run it out of our hardwire 16F. or you can get them very cheap on Amazon or over at Radio Shack or something. And then lastly, you can even wire in a siren here. So you'll notice our panel is a very low voltage panel, very energy efficient. But you could wire in a panel up to a 12 volt DC siren. Man, I said panel, a siren. Man, I don't know what's going on here. But you can do maximum current of 300 milliamps, and so on. Hey, Kevin, do you have anything else that's come in?
Well, yeah, sorry about that, guys. Lots of really good questions coming in, guys. I appreciate it. I don't have any to call out right now specifically. Lots of little kind of one-off questions coming in, so I'm not going to call those out for the audience. But I will take over for Mark here for a little bit. So beyond the software, beyond the hardware, I do want to start talking about some of the software here real quick. So we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about the software. So on the main screen, you've got the home screen overview. This is the, there's kind of three major components on the home screen. You've got the header and the settings tray. You've got the primary user interface. And then in the bottom, you've got the page indication and the emergency buttons. So the header and the settings tray, and then the top and the bottom are always going to be static. So those are shown on every single page. And then the primary user interface in the middle is the part that's dynamic. That's the part that'll change as you swipe from left to right, et cetera, et cetera. As you go into the top right-hand side, there's a message center where the envelope is. This envelope is also dynamically adjustable. So this can be your company logo as well. And normally this is pushed down directly from alarm.com, your company logo, but you can also change out your company logo with an SD card, and we'll show you that a little bit later here in programming. But inside that envelope, you've got three main components. You've got Contact Us, you've got built-in video tutorials, and then you've got messages, alerts, alarms, or what we'll often refer to as the red bubble alerts. And so that would be anything pertinent that the customer would want to look at for their system. If I swipe down from the top, I have the settings tray, and on the settings tray, you can see there's a lot of different pieces of information. You can see the system status. Something a lot of people don't know about, these icons up here on the top right-hand side. If you can see my mouse, you've got battery, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cellular. Those are actually touchable. So if you touch each of those icons, you'll get a status for each of those icons. You have your volume slider and your brightness. You can change the language. This is called the language toggle. You can change between Spanish and English, or English and French, or Spanish and French, however you want to have that set. The default is Spanish and English. You've got a clean screen, you've got access to your photo frame settings, etc. But where I want to go is I want to spend a little bit of time here on settings. So if you were to click on settings, it's going to take you to some basic level settings. And this is going to, these are all different types of settings that you can access without the need of typing in a master code or an installer or a dealer code. So things like display, SD card, weather temperature, status, etc. There's some automation on there. There's an activity monitor. But where you're going to spend most of your time is going to advanced settings. So if I was to click on advanced settings, that's then how I get into programming. Now there's two ways to get into programming. There's actually three ways to get into programming, but two that we're going to talk about today. There's the installer code, which the default is 1111, and there's the dealer code, which the default is 2222. The default code, or the dealer code, has a little bit higher level of access than the installer code. You can also get into programming. I mentioned a third way. You can get in with the master code, which is 1234, but that's going to have a little bit more limited access. So those are the ways that you get into programming. As we transition more towards kind of walking you through setting up a panel for the first time, I'm going to hand it off back to Mark, and I will get back to your questions here. So again, keep those questions coming.
Hey, thank you, Kevin. So yeah, we're going to jump into this hands-on portion. If any of you do have a panel on hand, I highly recommend, if you pull it out at this point, kind of follow along. It's going to help you just even learn even more about the panel. I do know there's some people that, we did have some dealers and technicians that reached out and said, hey, we're brand new to this. We're going to be jumping on. So yeah, if you can jump on, if you can pull up your panel now, follow through, you'll be able to retain more information. You'll notice when you open up the box of your panel, every panel comes with this little quick guide here. It's just a piece of paper. We made it very simple. It's a little 11-step process just showing you how to go through the panel. Hey, how do I open this panel? How do I close it? And touching on that, step one is, hey, it says wall mount. It talks about opening the panel. To open it, you're going to use your thumbs and you press down on these little buttons here. And we do realize, hey, this panel is not the easiest to open or close. And we've made some videos that are online to help with this. One was on that Facebook group we did last week. Kevin's done a really awesome video. It's one of my favorites, just showing 2 techniques to open and close the panel. So I'd recommend if you have time, jump on YouTube or on that Facebook page and you can see those videos. But you're gonna use your thumb, press the button, open it up. It's much easier to open than close. And you'll notice that best practice I mentioned earlier. Well, step one here is you have that little hanging strap. We call this the technician's third hand. Kind of allows you to hang the panel and still use both your hands when you're connecting things up. You're gonna route that antenna out that little hole there that I mentioned earlier, out of the antenna routing hole. Once again, the reason this is important is for your range. We've seen just by going out this back plate here, just going over a couple inches and kind of smashing that antenna against a board, you can lose 30% of your range or whatnot. So make sure you're routing it out that hole, getting it away from that little rock concert of RF that's happening up above with 900 megahertz and the cell unit and whatnot. Then you'll connect in your barrel jack for power. You can route it behind this retaining clip, and then you'll close your panel. I usually like to use this little clamshell method where you are able to put your antenna into the wall, close the bottom, it's going to kind of clip in, and then up top you have these snap tabs. There's 4 snap tabs where you kind of have to push down on the front of the panel, down at like a 45-degree angle while you're kind of rolling up the back of the panel, and those snap tabs will snap in. Snap, 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 snap. That's what they're made to do. And like I said, if you are new to the product, I would recommend jumping online and watching a video of that. Also, you'll notice we do have every panel does ship with a little table stand. So, for some reason they don't want the wall to be drilled into or whatnot, you can always do a table mount. And then getting started, you're going to power up your power supply. It needs to be at least that 5.5 volt power supply. All the panels that have been made over the last year, plus you're going to ship with a 7 volt. And then to turn on your panel, you just hold the power button on the side for 3 seconds. Let it go, and it's going to boot up. You got to make sure you create that account through alarm.com, and you can also use the mobile tech, which is an incredible app that alarm.com has made to help technicians out. And I know I've talked to techs over the years. They're like, I don't use that. I've never used it. I'm scared. Whatever their thing is, they don't use it. But yeah, jump on, get very familiar with mobile tech, and make your life easier with all the alarm.com access and things they have and their tools. As soon as it powers up, the panel's automatically going to be show you this wizard. So it just says, welcome. This is our easy install wizard, and you can just hit start. As you hit start, the first thing it's going to prompt you to do is connect to Wi-Fi. So it's going to go out and search the available networks. This is a screenshot of a panel here in the office. So we have our Qolsys network. We hit connect. Once we're connected, we hit next. And now it's going to go out and do a dual path test. So this is making sure your Wi-Fi connection is happening. Your main connection is the cell. Now this is also testing Wi-Fi. So it goes out, lets you know it tested successfully, lets you know the AC power is connected, the battery's connected. It's going through all these different little things. Your ZWave card's been installed, your PowerG, your S line. If it's a 345, it'll actually let you know this is a 345 panel here, or a 433. And then it's going to automatically do the radio test, the cell radio test. So it's reaching out, connecting to that nearest tower. A little side note, we have seen times where it's, hey, this is a brand new panel. It's never talked to a radio before. You know, it's waking up for the first time. I've seen where people are like, hey, my cell test didn't go through. If that ever happens, you can just power down the panel, power it back up, or power cycle it. That'll wake up that radio again to get it connect that first time. And once it's connected, you're good to go. If for some reason it doesn't connect to the LTE or to the central station or alarm.com, it's going to let you know. It's going to say, hey, this didn't go through. Here's your IMEI, your radio serial number. You know, it's these last 10 digits. What's nice is, hey, maybe you fat finger something. You messed up on the number. You accidentally typed in the wrong number. This is going to let you know, hey, it didn't connect. Here's your number. You can get on Mobile Tech and check again and make sure you typed in the right number, and then you can retry this when you know that that account has been created with alarm.com. And once it goes through, you're going to see, hey, I'm connected. This is Verizon. It's LTE. I got 3 out of 5 bars. I'm good to go. So next thing here, it says, hey, we're downloading system settings from the cloud. This is going to be your template. Alarm.com allows you to go through and say, hey, I want every panel that's installed to have the same programming. So this is when it's going to download that information from the cloud. Once that's done, it says, hey, it's all been downloaded. You hit next, and now you're ready to add sensors. So you can see if you're a brand new technician, you've never installed one of these, or if you're new to the product, it's just walking you through it, through the steps. So now to add sensors, it says, hey, make sure they're within arm's reach. Hit start, and now it's going to search for available sensors. With our panel, all you have to do is open and close that connection, so trip it, or you could tamper it, and it's going to scan in. You could also try using the QR code scanner if you wanted to. Once you learn in a sensor, the first thing you're going to see is the DL code up top. Every sensor has a DL code, so you want to verify, hey, did the right sensor learn in? So you look at the box or the back of the sensor, verify, yep, that's the sensor. It's going to automatically recognize most of the time, hey, yep, that's a door window sensor or a motion. And then it's going to give you groups that coordinate with that sensor type. So if it's a door window, you're going to see, oh, it's a 10 or is it a 13? Is it going to be a group 25 where it's just activity monitoring? You've got your sensor names. Let me see this. So sensor names here. One sec. Where the sensor names, it could be, hey, is it your generic names or do I want to custom name it? One nice thing with this panel is you can name devices whatever you want. If you want to name it, you know, Mark's Man Cave, it's a downstairs window in the basement, you can say Mark's Man Cave, and that's what it's going to say. That's what it's going to chime. Whatever you type is what it's going to say. If you abbreviate it and just do DR, it's going to say what you abbreviated. So you want to make sure you spell things out when you're putting in the sensor names. With chime types, you have 10 different options of chimes to choose from. You can decide, hey, do I want the voice prompts on? And then you have the source. This here's the security RF 319. If you're using one of our S-line sensors, this will say S-line. But if you're using one of our S-line sensors and you decided, hey, I needed to use a repeater for some reason, you're going to want to make sure that source says security 319 and not S-line, because it's not going to be able to have the encryption go through through that repeater. Then you have the sensor signal test. You know, activate the sensor to test the sensor signal strength. Open and close. You can see, oh, it's strong and good to go. That's a new thing we've added, is the sensor test to the wizard. So that's an improvement. That's a feedback from the field. And then now you have the option, hey, do I want to turn on that panel glass break? Is this going to be useful? You know, is my panel mounted in a hallway? If so, you probably don't want to turn on the glass break. There's no need. But if, hey, I'm up in the front of the house and there's a big window here, you know, their front door is a big window, let's enable the glass break. It's a free extra zone of things you're monitoring, and it also might bring up later on, hey, panel has a glass break detector. We're covering the front of the house. If you want, you know, we could upgrade you with a glass break in the back of the house. Could lead into an upsell there. Next thing you have is ZWave. It's going to walk you through how do I install ZWave. So let's get started. It says, hey, you want to clear a device before adding it. As a lot of us know that have been doing this, sometimes those ZWave devices have been learned into something in the factory or whatnot. So you clear it at first, hit the button, clears it out. and then you would add it. Tap the button on the device and you add it in. Once again, it's going to recognize automatically, hey, is it a light, a siren, a thermostat? But then you can go in and you can customize that name or use one of the fields that's just already in one of the default fields. Once you've added it, you can add additionals, and then at the end, when you're done adding all your ZWave, you're going to want to rediscover that network. So that's why here it says optimize the network. You hit start, goes out, and it rediscovers the network pathways and define the optimal network back to the panel for optimal performance. Once that's been done, you can pair Bluetooth. So this is just walking through all these different features of the panel. For Bluetooth pairing, you just hit pair here. You're going to want to unlock the end user's phone, make sure it's unlocked. Sometimes I'll turn on and off the Bluetooth on their phone, so it's kind of searching. Our panel is going to search for their phone when it sees it. Hey, here's Kevin's phone. I'm going to tap, yep, I want Kevin's phone. It's going to give me that little code. Kevin's phone's also going to see this, and I'm like, yep. I hit pair on the panel first, and then I hit pair on the phone, and those devices connect. It's pretty seamless. We made it pretty easy. And there you could continue to connect additional devices or just do the one device. The next thing we have on here is the IQ remote. This is also a new feature we've added. Would you like to pair to the secondary remote? You used to have to do this through outside of the wizard. Now you can do it here. It's made it much easier. The first thing you can do is do a test. Test the connection of that remote from its distance, and then you can pair it. So very nice feature. And then we also have add users. Would you like to add users to the panel? If you want to do it here, you can. You can do it up from a computer if that's easier for you. But if you do it here, we actually made an improvement where you can do, it'll show first and last name, and then you can type in that user code for each user, and these automatically get pushed up to alarm.com. Once you're done, you can say, yep, I'm done with users. Let's move on to the next. Now you're just going to verify, hey, your company info. A lot of this happened when that download happened from alarm.com. Yep, this is a Qolsys. The phone number is right. The website. I know I'm good to go. I can hit skip. Now I'm going to check for updates. Once again, for updates, you got to be connected to the internet. So I checked for that update. Yes, I'm on the most current version, 2.4.0. I'm good to go. Congratulations, your system's set up. It's ready to be used. So that wizard just made it very easy for a technician to walk through the install process. It makes it so every one of your technicians or every tech is doing things the same way, and that's what we like. We like techs all following the same process. It makes it so one tech isn't accidentally doing something else that others aren't, or skipping something. Now I want to jump into some additional programming, some advanced programming. We mentioned, hey, you can program Bluetooth through that wizard, but let's say, hey, I've already programmed the panel. Now I want to add it in. I don't want to jump back into the wizard. You can go into settings now and say, hey, I want to add that phone. Go into settings, advanced settings, go into installation, devices, and Bluetooth devices. And here you'll notice a much deep dive into Bluetooth. You see here, it says you can pair up to 5 devices. You can edit them, change the names of them, you can delete them out. So if somebody was to, let's say, lose their phone or sell it or whatever, you as a dealer can do this, or the customer can actually do it from the Manage My System page. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then you'll notice these settings over here for the Bluetooth timeout. And on that, it's, hey, what is the timeout period? Well, it makes it so it's defaulted at 10 minutes, but it makes it so when a customer arms their phone, how long do they have to be away from the house before they can come back and have the Bluetooth disarming work? So it's defaulted at 10 minutes, but it can go anywhere from 1 up to 30. And this just makes it so, hey, I left the house. If I forgot my keys and I run back in, it hasn't been 10 minutes yet, I'm going to have to type in my code. But if it has been, at least 10 minutes, the phone's going to disarm the system. It's kind of a little safety feature there. And also, you don't want someone to arm their system and then right away it sees the Bluetooth, which would cause it to disarm. So that's why you have the default of 10 minutes. And we also get the question, actually leave my phone on the counter. I forgot to take it with me. Well, Bluetooth disarming only works when you come back into it. So that device would have to leave range and then come back into range to be able to disarm the system. You'll notice here if you were using the settings to go in and add a phone, you're gonna just once again add devices. You'll see it searches. See Kevin's phone there. You'd hit pair here, pair on the phone, and it would add successfully. So this is just a second way to add Bluetooth. The panel glass breaks, the next thing I want to talk about. If you forgot to do it in the wizard, or you didn't do it there, you can do it through settings, through installer or dealer settings. Just tap on it. It's going to bring up that learning page. It's going to allow you here also, by default, it's going to learn it in away mode, but you do have the option now to change it to so it would also work in stay mode. The caveat there is if you use stay mode, it's going to go to a low sensitivity. And we've done this as a manufacturer to avoid false alarms. You know, we don't want somebody to have an alarm stay. They're watching a movie or something with breaking glass, or, you know, something happens. I mean, this is all to avoid false alarms. We've set it up so it's going to be at a lower sensitivity. And you can adjust that sensitivity level. As far as the glass breaks, you know, what works, we've tested for tempered glass, plated, insulated, but a window must be at least 12 inches by 12 inches, and that's just because it's going to make a different sound. It's not going to be picking up, and that's with all glass breaks, just so you understand that. But the panel, some requirements is that it's wall mounted, you know, the power supply is connected, and, you know, of course you have it turned on, and like I said, you can have it be in away mode or stay mode. But it does have a 3-foot to 15-foot range, and it's 90-degree line of sight. We also, if you go to our dealer site at dealers.qualsys.com, and I'll mention that site again later on, but we have a file online that you can download that is the sound of breaking glass. That works great to set off our glass break detector, and it leads into this next slide, which is our glass break test. We mentioned earlier that if you go into the test portion of our panel, the testing, you can test sensor range, you can test the ZWave, but we have a test on there called the panel glass break test. And if you go into that, there's 3 different things I want to go over. The first one's a clap test. So you can hit run, you clap your hands together, that little circle in the middle is going to turn yellow. You can reset it, hit run, and use the glass break simulator, and it's going to make that circle turn green. Then if you hit start, it's going to prompt you with this. It's going to let you know, hey, the glass break detector we put into a test mode for 15 minutes to be able to detect glass break simulator. So it's going to make it a little more sensitive and looking for a glass break simulator instead of just the sound of a real breaking glass. So you're going to arm the panel away, activate the glass break simulator at the location of glass you would like to be protected. The panel is going to go into an alarm, send a signal to the monitoring center, and the panel will exit this test mode after 15 minutes and return to normal mode. So this is just a way we've made it so it's much easier to test the panel glass break. The next thing we have is the panel motion detector. I mentioned this earlier. You can turn this on through settings here, and this is going to allow you to make sure you can use it for activity monitoring, to turn on, you know, set up scenes, to make it so the panel camera works with disarm photos with the motion when you're using Bluetooth or a key fob. You know, a bunch of things here with the panel motion. Once again, it is not a Berg motion. It's an activity motion that's going to be a group 25. As you'll see here, that sensor group cannot be changed. It's just going to be stuck as a safety motion. Our IQ remote, this is our secondary keypad, very clean, looks a lot like the main panel. It actually will mimic and do the same things as that panel as far as the UI. You know, to learn it in, if you're didn't use the wizard, you can go into settings, test it, pair it. It's going to pair the same way. And if you ever, you know, are like, hey, I want to know more information about that, how do I install it? We have a video online. Go to our YouTube channel, and Ken, our marketing team, has put together a really great, you know, it's like a little 8-minute video that you can watch of how that programs if you want to actually see it done. Let's get into some key programming fields. The first one I want to talk about is loss of supervisory for signals for those emergency sensors, the smokes, the heats, the COs. By default, it's set at the UL standard of every 4 hours. So those sensors need to be able to check in every 4 hours. If they don't, you're going to get a loss of supervisory. For your normal door window sensors, motions and whatnot, the default's 24 hours. So those non-emergency sensors. That's good to know. With that, there are some dealers out there that they don't like to go with 4 hours on their emergencies. They like to bump those up, and they can do that there in settings. Some other advanced settings we want you to know about is, first one is open and close reports allowed for auto learn. So this kind of happens where you'll notice you're able just to tamper or open and close a door to learn in sensors. But there's times where maybe, hey, you're learning in your hardwired sensors or a hardwired motion, and you accidentally did that one before you did some doors, or maybe there's one door you have to go through to get to another one. And this is where you're like, hey, I want to make it so I have to tamper the device to learn it in instead of just trip it. So by default, it's going to be enabled, but you can disable that. We also have the panel glass break and panel motion here, which I just discussed. The panel siren, we have an awesome feature here where you can, obviously by default it's going to be on, but you can turn it off. But we have a third option where it's called the installer test mode, and this will disable the siren for 30 minutes and then automatically re-enable it. So this allows you to, hey, I'm going to go into that test mode, go trip all my sensors, and then I don't have to worry about, oh, I forgot to turn the siren on. It's just automatically gonna turn back on. And that's really a great feature. I mean, I've heard of guys going out doing quality assurance tests with the old panels in the day, and they'd run into panels all the time where the technician forgot to put the jumper back in or plug the siren back in. We have something else here called auto stay. So by default, if the panel is armed away, but a delay door is not open, the panel is going to assume you're still home and revert back to stay mode. This is to help save with false alarms. Also, we have something called auto stay no delay, where you'll notice with our panel, if you arm it stay, it just automatically arms. There's no countdown timer. So this might be at nighttime, you're going to bed, yeah, I'm arming the panel stay, it just arms. If you want it to count down, you can, but a lot of people, they have kids or in bed or whatever, they don't want to have to listen to it count down for however long it is, 60 seconds. With user management, you can do up to 242 individual codes for the system. You got your dealer code, installer codes, your master codes. One thing I do like is with this system, even with alarm.com, is you can have guest codes created where, hey, maybe it's my cleaner. They come in once a week on Tuesdays, so from 8 a.m. to noon, I want to give them access. You can also set up temporary codes where it's, hey, I want this is an Airbnb, I'm sending out a code, it's only going to work for these 5 days and then it's going to expire. You can set that kind of stuff up on alarm.com, but we can do up to 242 individual codes with the panel, which is a ton. And we have our about menu that can give you a deeper dive into the software you want or the type of cell unit you have. Let's jump into testing and tools now. I've touched on all of these, but let's get into them a little deeper. The first one we have is our Wi-Fi test. This is more or less just letting you know, hey, I'm connected to Wi-Fi. It's working. The next test is our sensor test. This thing is awesome. I wish we would have had this the last 20 years, but it's been with our panel. This test actually goes out and measures the noise floor of the environment, like I mentioned earlier. If you hit that little cog, you can hit the real-time noise floor, and our panel is going to go out and measure every half a second the noise floor of that environment. Every house, every business is going to have a different noise floor depending on if it's next to a radio station, if they have baby monitors. In Hollywood, California, it has a really high noise floor, and a lot of the legacy sensors won't work. They've been able to use this test, and they said, man, we need to use PowerG because it's just too high of a noise floor. So, like I said, yesterday I did a video on the alarm.com or Qolsys and alarm.com and page on Facebook, kind of showing how this works, but this just allows you to see the noise floor. We take that noise floor and we draw some lines. Through testing, we know when you get about 6 dBm above the noise floor, you're critical. So we drew a red line there. And then 6 dBm above that is what we'd consider poor, or 12 dBm above the noise floor. And we know when you get to that yellow line is when you're going to start having supervisory issues. So this is just allowing you to do things right the first time. So if you're a technician and you come and check this page and you go to this and you see one of these are in the yellow, what are your options? Well, this is going to let you know, hey, maybe just by changing the orientation or placement of the sensor, it's going to change the reflections of it. And I've seen this where it goes from yellow to green just by changing the orientation of a sensor. I did that once on a glass sliding door, and I was like, sweet, I don't have to do anything else. The next thing it might let you know is, hey, I need to add in a repeater. So if it's a bunch of sensors that are out of range, maybe a repeater is your best option. Your third option, especially if it's a new install, a lot of times it's going to be one or two sensors that are out of range. PowerG still has encryption. It's going to be allow you to install that in a remote shed or a garage that's detached. So PowerG might be the thing where like, hey, this is out of range. I'm just going to put in a PowerG door window. And then we also have a PowerG test. It's separate than the legacy test. That legacy test, so we'll also work with 345 sensors and 433s, interlogic sensors and whatnot, not just our Qolsys sensors. The PowerG test, with this you can view the most recent signal strength, and you can also see what the signal strength's been like over the last 24 hours. If you have, like we have pulled up here, if you're using a PowerG motion, that PIR camera, you can also take a test picture here and see your placement of that motion from this page. With ZWave networking, a lot of us that have been installing for a while, we understand ZWave. But if you were to go and install a ZWave account and you have the thermostat set up and maybe a door lock and another sensor, or it's going to help you get to a door lock. ZWave, the more you have, the better it works. It's kind of like a mesh network. So if your thermostat went down in this situation, maybe you're going to lose that connection out to your door lock. But if you were to create additional pathways and strengthen up that mesh network, and this is a small example here, but this would make it so, hey, I have a different route that my communication can take through ZWave to get to that door lock. Just a quick thing I'm going to throw out there is for a thermostat to repeat, or does a thermostat repeat? Yes, it does. But to repeat, you have to learn it in a certain way, include it into the sensor with the batteries out. With the batteries out, it's letting it know, hey, it's connected to the C wire, it has power, it's going to be a repeating device and be part of that mesh network. If you have the batteries in when you learn it, it's not going to repeat. It's not going to be a repeater. So that's just an example on ZWave. With ZWave, we have these awesome tests. First one, after you get done putting all your ZWave devices in, you're going to want to rediscover the network. So it finds the most efficient communication path back to the panel. We also have the neighbor info. Hey, my front door or that front light, it can see all these different neighbors. It kind of lets you know how strong that network is. And then we have, sorry, I skipped a slide here, the counter test. This is one of my favorite tests here. A lot of people are like, this doesn't even make sense. What would we use it for? Well, in this example, we have a light and an outlet, and they both sent, over 2,000 commands to turn on, turn off, and you notice we've had hardly any failures. But you'll go into home sometimes where maybe it's, it's a new install, it's been asked to do something 100 times, and you'll see, hey, 30 times out of 100, it's failed. That's not good. You want to make sure your ZWave network is going through at least 98% of the time as far as acknowledged versus failed. So that would allow you to know, hey, I have data here that I can either take back to my sales rep that sold this, or I can take the homeowner and say, we need to add in a repeater or a device that's going to repeat and strengthen this network. So it's just going to help you out as a technician. The next thing we have is our ZWave diagnostic map. So this is a map that kind of lays out and shows you how all these devices are connected back to the panel. Also the signal strength, if it's a solid green line, it's strong. If it's dotted, it's normal. If you start getting into a yellow dotted line, it's going to be weak. If you see a double node, that's acting as a repeater. If something that has one of these little red X's like this front door lock, it says inactive or unreachable. Well, this is my friend's house. He's a technician. And why would his door lock go inactive? Well, he's a tech. He's out doing his own thing. Forgot to replace the batteries in his door lock, and it died. And that's why it's inactive. He also has a couple thermometers in here. These are actually the alarm.com temperature sensors that work with their thermostats, and they have to be woken up by the thermostat to be active. So that's why they came in as inactive, but really cool devices there. You know, kind of makes it so if your main thermostat's on the main level, but everybody sleeps upstairs, you can put a temp sensor upstairs and say at nighttime, I want the upstairs to stay at 70 degrees. I don't care about the rest of my house. And then the panel test. This is just a final test that kind of allows you to, hey, I want to know everything that's happening with the processes of the panel, whether it's the camera, the photos, the help videos. If you do run this test, just know one of the last tests on here is the siren. So we'll set that siren off. So if you want, you can run those individually if you feel things having issues. As far as the UI, you know, a lot of you that have played with this panel, you know, it's a very clean UI, up and down, scrolling left and right. You touch an icon, things open up. You want to get that drop-down menu, you can just touch right above the time and it drops it down, or you can slide it down. So very clean navigation we have. If you were to go into like the weather or something, you can touch that and it's going to pop up the weather. To make it go away, you can touch on it and drag it away, or you can touch outside the box to dismiss it. If you go into our message center, which this little envelope can actually be your company logo, you get it set up through alarm.com, you'll touch on that and you can see, hey, contact us. Here's your company information, access to video tutorials, the message center. You know, every panel has about, I believe it's 14 help videos on it now that are going to be some of those most asked questions, you know, an overview of the system. How do you arm it? How do you disarm it? You know, how do I pair Bluetooth? How do I add photos to the photo frame if I want to customize it? These are all videos on the panel that can save you as a technician or as a company from having to roll a truck. Somebody could call and you say, oh, I'm glad you asked this question. We have a video tutorial on your panel that we can have you go through, and let's see if this answers your question for you. So some really awesome video tutorials. And then we just have those standard message alerts and alarms that you get. We call this the bubble alert. So instead of the panel beeping and just making noises, you're going to get a little red bubble alert here. Go over and say, oh, you know, the battery came unplugged. Alarm went off at this time. Maybe it was, hey, your bill's due. That's something down from alarm.com to the panel. And people are very familiar with bubble alerts just from their phones and text messages and emails and whatnot. And with emergency panics, you'll notice if you touch that icon, the emergency screen pops up, and now you have the icons for police, fire, and medical. I love that on this panel. You have that option for silent police, but you also have the silent medical alarm. You know, if you touch that, your panel's not making a bunch of noise, and you know, it's just it'll come over the two-way and be able to talk to you peacefully. When arming the panel, you'll notice on this main page, if any sensor is active or open, it's going to display on the page here. If you were to hit all, you'd see all your sensors. You'll see this little key here for open, closed, an active sensor, for like a motion, unreachable, or tampered. So that's kind of the key of what you'd see here on the side. So when you go to arm your panel, you're going to have one of two screens pop up. By default, you're going to have the screen on the top left, just arm stay, arm away. If you touch those little arrows, it's going to expand, and this is going to allow you to bypass a sensor or turn off the exit sounds or turn the entry delay off. If you used this larger expanded screen the last time to arm or disarm your system, that's what you're going to see. But if you're someone that never deals with bypassing, you're just going to see that more basic screen. As far as lights go, very easy to use. If you just touch the actual light itself, you can turn it on or off. You have a dimmer where you can, if it's a dimmer light, you can select how strong you want it to be. If you want to turn on certain lights, you can go and select which ones you want and then hit on, and it'll turn those ones on or turn them off. And you can also get the status of your lights from this page. With door locks, one nice thing is you're actually on this page. It doesn't show it, but you're going to see the battery strength of your door lock. You can just touch on that specific door lock and lock it or unlock it. Or if you have multiple learned in, you know, you have a front door, back door, you can either hit unlock all or lock all at once. Very, very user-friendly. With the thermostat, once again, very user-friendly. You can, if you have multiple, you can swipe up or down to the different thermostats. If you go into the auto mode, you can select that low point and the high point for auto. You can see the current temperature, the battery power of that device. We've made it a very clean UI, and especially with some of these thermostats that have come out these days that you don't see as much on them. This is a nice thing to be able to go to and see what's happening with your thermostat. With garage doors, once again, if you have multiple garage doors, you can open all at once, close all at once. You can see the status of your garage doors. And with our latest software update, if you have this is huge for me, I've had an LiftMaster MyQ garage door installed for the last few years. I haven't been able to see it on my panel, but with the new update, we're actually going to be able to see LiftMaster now. Kevin, how do you get the LiftMaster to show up on your panel?
So it happens automatically, actually. So as long as your panel is running 2.4.0 or higher, and once a LiftMaster device comes online with alarm.com, alarm.com will send the UI down to the panel.
Okay. So, and if you already have one installed in, it will also automatically show up?
Yep.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. So, and to this point, it's always worked with a ZWave. Our panel's always shown this icon or this page if you have a ZWave one, but now it'll also work with the MyQ. Next thing we want to talk about is live view. It's really cool here. If you, like I said, you can have multiple cameras stream to the panel. For live view to work, you do need to go into the customer's alarm.com page or have them go in and authorize them to stream the cameras to the panel. If they have multiple and they only want a couple to be able to stream, they can select which ones they want. And then when you touch on it, it shows the nice 7-inch view of that camera. This is actually a camera just looking out our office window here. And this is what it kind of looks like now with the snow we have had. We have live answer also. So, you can get those doorbell notifications. If you go into alarm.com's website again, the user page, go to video settings, and then go click on video device info. You're going to want to check the box that says send button push notifications to panel. This makes it when someone comes up and pushes that button, this icon appears on the panel where you can answer or dismiss the doorbell ringing. You can also have the option to, instead of doing the button notification, you can do motion notification. So if somebody just walks up to the doorbell, it would actually show it to you before they give you this icon before they push the button. We talked about this briefly before, but to be able to talk, you just hold down the green icon microphone. You can talk to the person out there. You can arm your system or disarm it from here. If you want to unlock your door, you can do that, and then you can just end the call. So some nice features you have with live answer on the panel. Manage my system is the next page. It was the last page that every end user is going to have. With this, we've given the end user some control of their system, some additional control. One of those things that people are used to doing every day is connecting to Wi-Fi. If for some reason the Wi-Fi became disconnected, or the customer went out and said, hey, it's time to upgrade this router to something that's going to work a lot better, I'm going to get a mesh Wi-Fi system, this is where they could go in. The circle would actually turn red and say it's disconnected. They could hit reconnect, and it's going to go search and show them the available networks. They can type in their password and just automatically reconnect it. They can also see what software they're on, also the last time it was updated. And then from here, the customer has the option to see if their Bluetooth is on or off. And they have some options there with the Bluetooth. As far as some of our support goes, I think Qolsys and our marketing team has done an amazing job at supporting dealers. And this is something, if you're new to Qolsys, you can realize really quickly. They're doing a promotion now where they'll actually do we call it our 5 best, where they'll help you get a 2-minute video that can be have your company logo put on that video on some of our flyers and stuff. So it's our 5 best marketing tools that they'll customize for you. But if you go to dealers.qolsys.com, you can register for this page. On here, you're going to see videos. We have sales and tech trainings, or little LMS trainings. We have the panel simulators that you can download. And if you pull up your iPhone or your Android, you can go to IQ Panel 2, and you'll actually have a little panel simulator that shows you the panel, the the UI of the panel where you can scroll through it. You can actually arm it and disarm it. It takes disarm photos with your phone. Sales reps love using that with tablets. This is access to sales slicks and all that kind of stuff. Also on here, if you want access to this, once again, just go to dealers.qualsys.com, register. Somebody from our team will set that up for you and accept your registration. If you ever have tech support questions, you have a few options. You have our Qolsys tech support, 8554-QUALSYS. It's open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Is that Eastern Standard Time? And Tier 3 is actually open from 12 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you ever want to go directly to Tier 3, you can just email techsupport@qualsys.com. That sends us an email. We're part of that team. Myself and Kevin, our technical account management team, can see those emails that come in, creates a ticket for us in our ticketing system. And then another great thing I want to talk about is that Facebook page that I mentioned a couple times. It's a community of technicians from around the world. There's people that aren't just in the U.S. that are installing the panel, and you can get on there and say, hey, I have a question about this, and somebody will usually respond within minutes. And it's a really cool page that just is knowledge out there that everybody's sharing, and it allows us to see true feedback from the field of what's happening. So that's called Qolsys and Alarm.com installers. We also have a couple official pages. We have a Qolsys page. Just there's like 3 different official pages for technical sales and marketing also that you could join. I mentioned those panel simulators. We also have a computer emulator. So if you're a back office person, somebody's calling in, this is nice to be able to pull up the computer emulator and walk through the settings of the panel with the customer if you need to. You can see what's happening as you're telling them to do things. So we did this in about an hour and 50 minutes today. We jumped through our tech deck. A lot of times we'll spend, if we're doing in-person trainings or one-on-ones, this might go a little longer. But for now, I want to leave this going as Q&A. If any of you guys have questions, we'll jump on and answer your questions. We'll leave this going for the next 5 minutes or so just to make sure everybody gets their questions answered. But I want to thank you guys for jumping on this. Like I said, if you do have any coworkers that need training, technical training, we will be doing another one of these next Thursday. And we know it was part of the initial invite that was sent out, but we will be resending those invites out if you know somebody that wants to register for next week's training. And then also in the future, you'll see that we will do sales trainings and technical trainings on specific topics. So if there's ever a topic that you're like, hey, I would love a technical training on this topic, or a sales training on the marketing materials you have, or something specific, and we're able to do some of those customized trainings. So thanks for getting on. Hey, Ken, share, we're good?
No, we're good.
All right. Well, hey, thanks again, everybody. We had a good group today, and we look forward to hearing from you and seeing you guys on that Facebook page.